Today we are reading a quiet little poem by Zhang Jiuling, a Tang dynasty poet. He was born around 678 in what is now Guangdong, far from the imperial capital. He eventually became chancellor, one of the highest officials in the empire. But his poems are gentle, intimate, full of longing for home. Today's poem is small, only 8 lines, but it opens up into something much larger. This poem is called Plucking the Willow, from the horizontal flute song tradition. It is a UFU poem, meaning it follows an older musical title and form. The willow is one of the most loaded symbols in Chinese poetry. To pluck a willow branch is to say goodbye, and to carry that goodbye with you. Here is the poem in full. I will read it once through, and then we will go slowly, line by line. Listen for how small and tender the images are. There is almost nothing happening, and yet a whole world is inside it. That is the magic of Tang poetry, how much feeling fits into almost no space. The first line reads, Slender, slender, the plucked willow. That doubled word, slender, slender, is the whole emotional key. It slows you down before the poem has even started. You are already holding something fragile in your hand. The second line says, holding this, I send it to my beloved. So the speaker has broken a branch and is sending it to someone. Maybe a lover, maybe a family member. The word can hold both. What matters is the gesture, reaching across distance with a small green thing. Distance is the real subject of this poem, how love survives across it. Then comes the turn. One branch, how is that worth anything? The speaker immediately questions the value of the gift. A single willow twig is not gold, not silk, not a letter. By itself, it is almost nothing. But here is the answer. What I cherish is that it is the spring of my old garden. The branch is not the gift. The spring of home is the gift. The willow is just the vessel that carries it. This is such a tender way of saying, I miss where I came from. The fifth line says, the lingering daylight. How can it last long? Now the poem shifts from tenderness to worry. Spring light is beautiful precisely because it will not stay. The speaker feels time already leaving the branch. The sixth line continues, the flowing fragrance cannot stay as fresh as now. Even the scent of the willow is fading as it travels. There is a quiet grief here. The gift is already losing what made it a gift. By the time it arrives, spring will have moved on. The gift and the giver are both racing against the same clock. Then the poem widens. I grieve more for the garrison soldier at the frontier. Suddenly the poem is not about the willow anymore. It is about a person standing in the dust of a border town. The personal longing opens up into a shared, national sorrow. The last line says, his hair growing old in the dust of the frontier city. This is the image the whole poem was building toward. Not the willow, not the spring, but a soldier aging far from home. The green branch and the gray hair are placed side by side without a word. That silence is where the real grief lives. The willow as a symbol of parting goes back centuries before Zhang. In old custom, travelers would break a willow branch at the roadside and carry it. The word for willow sounds like the word for staying, lu. So to give a willow is to say, please stay, even as you leave. Every willow in a Tang poem carries that double meaning, parting and the wish to remain. Here is something lovely about Zhang Jiuling himself. He was known at court for his integrity, and he once openly challenged the emperor. He warned against trusting an ambitious general named Lushan. Nobody listened, and a few years later, Lushan nearly destroyed the dynasty. So when Zhang writes about a soldier aging at the frontier, he is not just being sentimental. He knew what the frontier cost. He knew that the quiet grief of one branch and one soldier was the shape of an empire's worry. The poem holds both, the private and the public, in 8 short lines. That is what makes it more than a love poem. What stays with me is the middle line. What I cherish is that it is the spring of my old garden. It is such a humble sentence, and yet it is the whole reason the poem exists. We send what we can. A word, a photo, a single green branch. What we are really sending is the place we came from, the season we miss, and maybe the person we used to be when we still lived there. That is Plucking the Willow by Zhang Jiuling, a small poem about a small gesture that somehow holds an entire spring. Thank you for reading along with me today. Take care, and I will see you in the next one.
纖纖折杨柳，持此寄情人。一枝何足贵，怜是故园春。迟景那能久，流芳不及新。更愁征戍客，鬢老边城尘。